I was standing in the shower on Tuesday when it finally kind of hit me that I'm never going to see my granddad again. And I find it deeply unnerving that death is one of those topics that, as a society, and I suppose even deeper than that, just between ourselves, that we've sort of all agreed to never talk about the one thing that happens to everyone, that everyone is going to face this at some point. There's a specific kind of dread that hits you when you realize a person is just gone. But that the, but that physical reality, oh, that physical reality of them is just, it's over. There's there's that sort of glitch in your brain where you know he's gone, but being being unable to grip the finality of it. And just as I was sort of standing in the shower, I felt the surreal, the mundane, just the water running while your world feels like it's shifting. Have you ever had that? Where you're doing so. Have you ever done that where you're doing something totally normal and the weight of mortality just washes over you out of nowhere? I just want to say that in this video I am getting quite emotional, but I'm not ashamed of that. I think it's, or just like how people say that weakness. Um, People say that pain is weakness leaving the body. I think the same thing with emotion to an extent. I think it depends on the context. Definitely, if you're not wanting to express emotion and you end up doing it against your will, I think in some contexts that could be perceived as weak because maybe people are depending on you. Maybe there are people in your life who need you to be strong for them, and if you're not, then that can be perceived as weakness. But there are other times when there's this topic that you're talking about. You should be emotional about it, and you should feel hurt, and you should. you should feel pain when you're talking about it, but that doesn't necessarily make you weak. It just makes you, I think it makes you strong, because it shows that you're connected with your emotions and you know what matters, and you want to show others that you know what matters. So, yeah, I think it's important to show your emotions, and I think that's important for both genders. I think it's very important for women. I also, of course, having an emotional moment and I have a voice crack. That's so me. But I was getting off topic. What am I talking about? That's enough about me. And let's get into let's get into the struggle and the loneliness of the fear. And what do I mean by that? I mean that what is weirder than death itself? I think it's the way that we treat it like a secret, that what we're keeping from each other. Like this weird, strange, dirty secret. But I'm not sure why we are keeping that a secret. You know, when I broach the topic of death to sort of friends and family, I often get a response that is quite candid. It's almost a cookie cutter response of blind reassurance, or trying to shut the conversation down. You know, you won't know that you're dead until you're dead, so don't worry about it, or it's inevitable, something that happens to everyone. And I don't think either of those things are particularly comforting. They're definitely, I don't find them comforting. I don't know about you. Do you find those comforting? I definitely don't. And they don't help for me. They don't ease the terror or the fear, the dread, because they feel very dismissive of something that I know we all fear. I feel like I'm the only one in the room who genuinely wants to talk about this, and maybe you feel that way too, but I feel like everyone is just pretending to be fine about this topic because they don't know what else to say. And, you know, I don't mean to paint a picture that everyone in my life has shut me down whenever I try to talk about this. No. I've talked about this with some friends who are maybe a bit more interested in talking about deeper discussions than how many drinks are we going to have at the pub. And I've talked about this with my parents, and yeah, I've had deeper discussions about these things. But I do definitely think that maybe I worry more than others, or maybe others worry just as much as me, but they don't reveal it. But it concerns me. It deeply concerns me. There's this, you know, this inevitable thing that, I mean, the best way that I can describe it, and the reason why it terrifies me but simultaneously comforts me, is the fact that it happens to everyone, and it's happened to everything. It's going to happen to everything. It's happened to everyone. You know, it's happened to barbarians back when they were no technology around, just like bare bones of human civilization. And then it's going to happen to a random squid in the ocean. It's going to happen to the earth at some point. It's going to happen to everything we know and everyone we know. And that scares me because I think as humans we like to pretend we're special. We like to pretend that we we're not the same as other animals and we're not the same as other species, and that, oh no, we've got technology, we've got laws, we've got uh societies, we've got all this stuff. We're not animals, but we are. We're animals that are just gonna die and end up in the ground, like a dog or a cat or a fish. And that scares me because I guess that just puts into perspective that the whole world is in chaos. The whole the whole world is a collection of chaotic events, and we just find ourselves in the middle of it, and nothing can be done about it. It's not one of those fears that you can sort of face up to and come out the other side smiling. No, it's like death doesn't care if you're scared. It doesn't care if you're prepared. It doesn't care if you're worried. It doesn't care how much you prepare. It's gonna get you. And yeah, sure, you can try and live a life of value. You can try to feel as comfortable as possible when the day comes. When the day of your death comes, you can try to feel as accepting of it as possible. But none of that really matters outside of your own worldview. Not to devalue your own worldview, because by nature that's the most important perspective to you, your own worldview. But I'm not sure that is just thinking about it doesn't. I'm expressing so many emotions in this video. It started out the video, just, and now I'm giggling at the prospect of death. Um, yeah. But the reason I've been thinking about death more recently is because, well, like I said, my granddad died. I was gonna say fairly recently, but I don't even think it's that recent anymore. Feels like it's recent. But yeah, I've been thinking about this more recently because my sister is having a baby, and it's a strange feeling to realize that birth and death are actually the exact same door, but just in different directions. Now, that's not to diminish the joys of having a baby and welcoming a new life on this earth, but it doesn't hide the intertwined nature of life and death. With life and death, there's that trade-off of time. If we didn't die, time would be infinite, and therefore everything would be worthless. So with death and with birth, there are. I mean, birth gives you the opportunity to have a fulfilling life, but death is the one that determines it, really. If you lived forever, it wouldn't matter who you spend your time with. It wouldn't matter what decisions you made. It wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter. You know, every choice that we make, who we spend a Friday night with, who we love, it only matters because we are spending a finite currency to do it, and that currency is time. So I guess that's what comforts me about death, because I know that it's equally as giftful as birth. So let's say if I had to tell my future niece or nephew one thing about this fear and this fear of death, I wouldn't try to fix it or explain it away. I tell them that, in fact, I tell you that being scared is actually a tribute to how much they love being alive and how much you love being alive. And I want you to know that that feeling is good, and you aren't childish for being afraid of the end. You're just paying attention. You know, death gives us meaning because it forces us to choose what matters right now.